I know you mentioned to Chris and I, there was a chance you almost didn't want to come on and do our podcast today, but you didn't really tell us why, and we didn't really want to ask ahead of time. So, do you mind sharing with us?
Yeah, yeah. Now I'm going to look for grace and words that are going to make this easier to digest for my father, for my adopted father. When I think about shit my dad taught me, I didn't know how deep this podcast goes into that. Like, I don't know if there was going to be like, tell me five things that your dad taught you, right? I've had an interesting relationship with my parents. Okay. Um, when you're adopted, okay, even though I kind of blew it off for years as like it's not a big deal, right? It is a big deal, dude. It's a big deal. People who listen to this podcast that are adopted are gonna also it's gonna resonate with them that it is a big deal. It's a big deal. Because you're not the same. You're just not. My daughters who are my biological daughters and Christian, who's my knob of a son, Christian, who's 21 now, doing the crazy things I used to do. I look at him and I see me, right? I see me. And my dad didn't do that, you know? So when I figured out that I was gonna have trouble with alcohol and drugs and that hit at an early age, um, it was hard for my dad, you know, and I get it, right? And for someone who's a church going person, right? It's also hard, right? I made a call to my parents from Europe when I think I was 16. I still remember the phone call. I was in a German Canadian, American Army base in Germany, based in Germany. They said today you can make two phone calls, right? No cell phones, but back then. And I said, I'm going to call my parents. And the reason I was going to call my parents was to tell them that religion and everything they believe in is bullshit. And that I was coming home a different person than they met. And I told my parents that. I said, point blank, guys, I said, when I come home, I'm going on the road and I'm not going to be the Christian guy. Know it, own it, and I don't care what that feels like to you. And my parents went, wow. Because the tour I was on was with people from religious people. And I said, nope, I'm coming back and I'm going to be a rock star. That's it. And I'm going to burn this down. I'm burn my life down. And you know what, boys? I was successful. I did it. I lost my friends. I lost my family. I lost my dad. And when I was years later, I was coming back from another tour, and me and my dad were driving on the QEW in the morning. My dad said, lie back, son. Go to sleep. I hadn't slept in days, dude. I was on tour, burning my life down. Go to sleep. You haven't slept in days. I looked over and my dad convulsed as we were driving. He had a brain aneurysm driving on the QEW. We were going 120 kilometers an hour. His body froze. He put his foot all the way down on the gas at 180. We hit a Mack truck. It put us, something woke me up and told me, turn the wheel right now. We both would have been obliterated if I hadn't turned that wheel at that exact moment. But it crushed my dad in front of my eyes, dude. Crushed him. Broke his back. His body disintegrated in front of me. And I never got my dad back.
Sorry, brother.
I never got a chance for that. Because drugs and alcohol were so fucking important, man. So important. Getting laid was so important, dude. I lost my dad, dude. He lived. By the grace of God, he lived. He lived, but he was never the same. Never. He could never love again, dude. Couldn't feel it. It was permanent brain damage, man. I wish. The reason I almost bailed is because that is one of the most painful realizations you'll ever have in your life. Is when you lose your dad and he's still alive, man. There's shit he probably would have taught me. Except drugs and alcohol stole it from me. So people ask why I don't give a shit about going out and taking whatever the consequences are. It's because of that day, dude. It's because of that day. And that day didn't wake me up, man. That day threw me further into addiction. Because I was like, well, now I've lost him. And it set my mom off the rails. Destroyed my whole family. And I said, who cares now? Who cares if I live now? What does that matter? So for like 30 years, dude, I did everything I could to kill myself. Everything, including trying to kill myself. But I lived. I lived, man. I'm here. So you're damn right. I'm going to take every minute now and go into a dark world and try to shine a light, dude. Because that's the shit my dad would have taught me. And, you know, now my dad is not a man for emotion or words, or because he just doesn't have that. But when I got sober, I got a new car. I went and picked up my old man, and we drove. He put his hand on my knee. He said, I'm proud of you. I'd never heard that before. That's the shit my dad taught me. It's never too late, dude. It's never too late. But when I think about talking about it, dude, it's hard, man. Right? Because if someone asked me, name 5 things your dad taught you, I don't think they'd be tangible things. I don't think they would be things like how to fish, how to do this and that. It would be untangible things. Respect time, because it's not guaranteed. Don't make molehills into mountains, because they're not. Don't let demons steal your life. It's never too late to turn it around and have your dad turn to you and say, I'm proud of you. It can happen. Right? I know that's heavy, boys, but like that's a reality, man. So that's why, like, legitimately driving here this morning, I called Bert, who's kind of my backbone, my tough boy.
I think you're more his backbone.
Well, I think we're each other's backbone, but I needed a word from him. And I called him. Like, I think I'm going to call Jamie and Chris and bail. God, I don't think I want to do it. Right? Only because of the name. And he said, that's exactly why you got to do it. You don't back down from shit, Irving. You don't. And I went, Yep. I'm gonna grab some energy drinks and I'll be on my way. You know.
No, we're glad you came, man.
Oh, so glad, bro.
That's a deep story for sure.
If it's okay with you, I'd like to introduce you a little bit, welcome you to the show. Kozib and I have a ChatGPT tradition where just before we welcome a guest, we go on ChatGPT and just see what it spits out at us.
Sure.
All right, if I read that to you, let me know how it did.
Yep.
It says Andrew Irving is a Burlington, Ontario-based singer-songwriter renowned for his heartfelt music that addresses themes of mental health and addiction. With over 30 years in the music industry, he has crafted songs that resonate deeply with listeners facing similar challenges.
Wow.
Good so far.
That's pretty good, right? Professional highlights. In his music career, Andrew has been performing live and making a living as a full-time musician since he was as early as 13 years old.
Could we define a living? What is a musician's living?
There were some times where I was barely living in some moments, but yeah,
and then,
they're doing all right so far.
Yeah, not bad, right? And then community-wise, Andrew founded the Irving Army, a Facebook group and beyond designed to support fellow musicians, fostering collaboration and mutual support within the artistic community.
Yeah.
That's impressive. And then it just goes on.
Wow, I sound great on paper.
Right?
Holy shit.
A gentleman, and a scholar, and a connoisseur, non-alcoholic wine.
Well, thanks, everybody. It's been a good podcast there.
ChatGPT does the heavy lifting. And then it goes on to talk a little bit about your family life, but I want to hear that from you anyways, man. So how do we do so far? ChatGPT get it right?
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Every time I do TV or I do whatever, they have an intro for me that I don't know really what's coming. And the last one was so awesome. I was like, that's me? What? Like the one that was just like on the Hamilton, the CACH one.
Yeah.
He's reading it and I'm going, who wrote that? That's impressive. So yeah, I think you nailed it, man. That's cool.
Well, can't take credit for that, but we
very cool.
We punched
I feel like
in.
there's a lot it didn't say.
Yeah, they left a couple holes in there.
So go back to being 13 and getting into music. Where's your love of music come from? Talk to me about your early career.
I don't remember a time that I didn't do music. Like that's just to be honest. My grandma was a huge influence on me as far as music. I grew up in a family that went to church. There was music in church. And my grandma would always be looking at me when I'd be singing or whatever. And very early, like I'm talking like, 4, 5, 6, she was like, there's something going on here. Like there's something special happening here. And she nurtured that. And so like at a very early age, I think I was 7 or 8, I performed for the first time at like a church service on Christmas Eve when I think I was 6 or 7. Playing a thing called an auto harp where you push down and it holds chords for you. But I sang Go Tell on the Mountain and performed it by myself. So I don't ever really remember not being a performer. It's just kind of always been me. I believe it was a God-given talent. The reason I was put on the planet. And I'm fortunate because a lot of people search for that, throughout their life and they don't, to find that meaning that gets them up in the morning. I was very fortunate that, my grandma right away was kind of like, this is why you're here. And I felt it immediately. So even though it's, my career really did start, I toured Europe for the first time when I think I was 13 years old. I look back at it now and I did some crazy things. Like I lived in Bolivia, believe it or not, for 4 months as well. And I traveled around in a cattle truck for some of it, up into mountains to tribes and sang and just crazy. Like looking back on it, I don't, I guess it was because my grandma always instilled in me that there's nothing you can't do. This world is yours. Go take it. And from an early age, I was like, okay, yeah, doing it.
Tell us about that road, about your tour.
Yeah. So believe it or not, I have never had formal vocal training, which a lot of people are like, that's crazy. because I was a lead tenor in a choir when I started, and I was singing alongside of people that were much older than me and had formal training. These are trained tenors and falsettos and all the stuff you have in a choir. So I just kind of jumped in, and I just didn't know that it wasn't wrong for me to just jump in and pretend that I could, that I was like, I can do it too. It's fine. So when I was 12, I toured straight across Europe. Um, it was a 3-month tour. We went straight across Europe, all the way across Europe. And I was the second chair. So there was a lead tenor, and then I was right beside the lead tenor. That was really my schooling for figuring out how to be a professional singer. There's a guy named Kerry Buck that I toured with, who lives in South Carolina, and he was a professional singer. And he went, "You're special, Andrew, and I'm going to teach you for free every night. I'm going to teach you how to be the best singer, like, on the planet. So let's go." And I didn't know how to read music. I didn't know anything about taking care of my voice or any of that. And that was my schooling. That 3 months taught me so much that I needed to know about not only being a professional, but singing every night, how I conduct myself, how I take care of my voice, how to sing properly. It's like I said, I don't ever really remember not performing. It's kind of crazy.
How was your family for the support leaving home at 12 years old to go tour? I don't know too much about
Yeah,
your family background.
my like I said, my grandma always pushed me, always. She told me when I was this is kind of funny. When I was about 10 or 11, she told me I was the best musician on the planet. And she was like the most godly woman on the face of the planet. So I'm like, she doesn't lie. So this must be true. And so I kind of had this like sense of like, yeah, I can go anywhere. I can do whatever I want. And so, and my parents were also, pretty supportive. They never stood in my way from doing anything that I wanted to do. Um, well, okay. Well, at the beginning, because at the beginning I was kind of structured in sort of a religious church setting. And then I'm sure we will continue this interview to where my career went. But, when I was young, that was where my roots were. And that's where I learned a lot of my craft. So yeah, they were supportive. They were supportive. There was never a time that I can remember where I said, I'm going to go do this or I'm going to go do that. And there was never really let's think about this. Let's, what are the consequences? Like even leaving school early to go to live in Bolivia. Like it was like, yeah, do it.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. Yeah. I look back, like honestly, guys, I look back. It's funny, like just recently when I moved, I started unpacking some stuff and looking at kind of stuff from my early days. And I look at it and I go, I can't even believe I did. Like there's a picture of me just on a 4x4 in the middle of Bolivia, like in the middle of mountains. There's nothing around. It's just me and a guy, my partner who was on another 4x4 taking a picture, and it's just us. And we're in the middle of tribes. Like we could have died at any point. We were so young and just no consequences.
Young and dumb,
man. Like there's things called Quechua warriors, okay, in Bolivia, and they're like tribe leaders. You disrespect these people, you die. We're spreading the message of God and things like that. But we are also bringing grain and rice and things like that to these villages, so we are helping them. But there was an angle of trying to speak some truth, and no one ever let us know, hey, that could be dangerous.
There's some people that might not agree with you.
Right. And so I see pictures of me in the middle of these villages at like a super young, like I don't even recognize myself at that age. And I'm like, and not only just that we did that, but I mean like before we would go to sleep, we would shake out our sleeping bags so we didn't have like spiders, and we would sleep with nets over us. And somehow that never bothered me. Like I never ever considered that was dangerous. There was a story. We had one shower that was like came down from a mountain, And my friend Brian was beside me, and we were singing and whatever, and it's divider. And I looked up and I saw a spider over his head. And so I thought, it'll be hilarious if I splash water and make the spider land on my friend, right? There was training we were supposed to do, by the way, in Florida before we went to Bolivia. We flew to Florida to meet our team. And me and this other guy, Brian, who was from London, Ontario, we decided to play beach volleyball and hit on girls instead of going to the training. So we didn't know anything. We both ended up getting amoebas and having to come home early from the trip.
You were learning about crabs instead of spiders?
Yes. But what was funny was I'm splashing this spider, and it just so happened at that time, like one of the missionaries came in, saw me doing this, and like was like started yelling at me. It was a black widow spider. I was about to just like one of the most poisonous spiders in the world just land on my friend, and I thought that'd be hilarious. And my friend thought it was hilarious too. Even when we got out of it, he was like, that would have been so hilarious. And I'm like, you probably would have died. He's like, nah, we're good. And you know what I mean? When you have no awareness that you can't do things, it's kind of limitless to what you can do. You know what I mean? And I've kind of lived a lot of my life like that,
That's some early events that lead to rock and roll, though, eh? Like you're
Yeah.
in there living on the edge, and then as things progress, I'd like. So I know every time I've seen you, you've got a guitar in your hand. You obviously started to pick up some instruments around that time.
I did, yeah. So my grandma started me on piano, which I hated, but it taught me discipline. It taught me what I needed for my career today. I'm very thankful for how strict not only her but my parents were on me. So literally my piano was in a front room of our house where I could see the street. Okay. So my friends after school would all be out there playing road hockey or playing basketball or doing whatever. And every day that I got home, I had to practice for at least an hour, no matter what, on the piano. And we're talking like my grandma was old school, like practicing with like a penny on your hands. So your hands are perfectly still when you're moving and the penny can't come off. And I was playing Mozart by the time I was, 10 or 11 on the piano. Not realizing that was pretty remarkable, right? But learning like dedication to the craft and learning what it was going to take. But then the deal was when I got to a certain level, and if I showed that dedication to being a musician, that later I could pick my own instrument, what I wanted to do. So probably when it was about 12, 13, 12. I put in enough years on the old piano. And so first thing I wanted to do was I wanted to play drums. That was first thing. Then my grandma said, you can't play drums. And I said, why? She said, it's not an instrument. It's percussion. And then I said, no, I want to be a drummer. She's like, no, you can't do that. She goes, because I want you to write songs, be able to express yourself. You can't do that on the drums.
Jesus doesn't like drummers.
No. Jesus isn't into drums. So I said, all right. So then literally I saw a Christian rock concert like that year at Massey Hall, band called DeGarmo and Key. I don't even know if they're around anymore. I think Dana Key has unfortunately passed away. But I remember sitting there, him coming out with a red Strat guitar and ripping a guitar solo in my face, girls in the crowd going crazy. And I went, yep, all right. I turned to Dave Ellsworth and I said, yep, that's what I'm doing. I'm doing that like for the rest of my life. I'm doing that. That's all I'm doing.
You were buddies with Dave that long ago?
Yeah. And that was when we started a band. That was when we started a band right there. We didn't have any idea. Like, but there was me, Dave, my friend John, and my friend Trevor, all at that concert. And I had already picked, like, I'm the guitar player guy, right? Trevor was the most passive guy in our little gang of friends. So we're like, you get to be the bass player. Believe it or not, my friend John got to be drummer and Dave got to be lead singer. And we're like, yeah, we're a band now. We didn't know how to play any instruments. We're just like, we're a band.
We're just gonna jam.
Yeah. Guess what we called ourselves? We didn't already realize there was another band, kind of big, called Lighthouse in Toronto. We called ourselves Lighthouse. We made a banner. We had everything except for any talent or knowing how to play our instruments at all. And it was so cool, man. It was so cool. It was like, I still remember the first, believe it or not, even though I've killed my brain, I still remember the first time getting together, and like, and my parents and my grandma, they came through. They bought me a red Strat, just like the one I saw, and an amp, and I didn't know how to play. I didn't know how to tune. We just all showed up. Our parents all bought us what we needed. We were in John Ludlow's basement. First thing we did was we spray painted a banner, because that's important. We're like, guys, marketing is got to do that first.
Hanging on the garage door.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Got to have a banner behind us. Don't worry about songs. Banner.
Yeah.
Spray painted it, Glen Abbey, on his cement floor. Didn't realize it went right through to the cement. Permanent on his parents. And then I remember we hung it up. We're like, okay, now we got the banner. Because at the show, they had a big banner behind them. So we have that. And then we kind of looked at each other and we went, hey, we don't know how to play music, though. And we just started making noise, you know? And it was cool. It was so cool, man. It was like, I remember still like not knowing what I was doing, but being like, this is the coolest shit ever. I'm never not doing this.
So how do you go from 4 nobodies that don't know how to play music and don't have any talent to touring with 3 Days Grace?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that is a long road. So what was really funny was there was a guy at church who played guitar, who actually I bought the Strat off of. And I just remember we used to sometimes jam in the empty church. They'd let us jam like on a Saturday morning, okay? And I remember this guy was there for some reason, and he just heard me making noise. And he came up to me and he goes, hey, man, like, there's things called like chords and scales, and, you know, if you want to learn them, like I could teach you. And I was like, really? You got to do that? You don't just, he's like, yeah, you don't just turn on the distortion pedal. Like, and I went, oh, I should do that, eh? He goes, yeah, you should do it. So he was the one who actually started really started my career, right? Like teaching me how to play guitar. And I only really took from him for a year. And I just guitar was just sort of a thing where I just it was really weird. I don't know how to do math. I suck at English, you know, all that. But guitar, I just picked it up and immediately I was like, okay, I get this. I got it. Like, I get it. And vocally, I just kind of got that too. And songwriting, I just kind of got, it just kind of, you know what I mean? It's like,
you just had it.
Yeah. It's like, you know, everyone's born with that thing. You know, I've come to realize that later in life, that everyone is born with the gift or with a gift, you know. And I had one of my mentors tell me that, you know, finding your gift is the thing that you do with the least amount of effort, but do it brilliantly with the least amount of effort. You don't really have to think about it. It just comes naturally. And a lot of people don't live in their gift. You know, a lot of people don't get the opportunity. Like I feel very blessed that I get to live in my gift, and I've got to do that basically my whole life. So Tim started teaching me guitar, and then the other guys also went and took lessons. And then we actually started kind of learning how to structure songs and kind of learning how to record. We went and bought like a little 8-track recorder, and we started kind of doing what you do when you're starting to be a musician, right? Like writing really shitty songs. And, you know, the first girl that I thought I loved, it's like, yeah, I'm writing a song about it and I'm going to sing it to her. And it was like super exciting, right? Like it's like Valentine's Day and you have a song, you think it's like a hit single, right?
And then you find out you're single.
Yeah. And then you find out it's not a hit single. But so that was kind of the beginning of my career. Like what was kind of cool, which was kind of awesome, was I didn't really know that there was such a thing as like cover bands. I kind of didn't know that because I kind of wasn't in that scene. And so we like just started writing music like immediately, our own music with Dave, who's like my best friend, being the singer, right? And so we just kind of we always kind of did that. We were always kind of creative, and we always were kind of doing our own thing. And so we started playing coffee houses and stuff, like grade 8, grade 9, grade 10. But here's what's crazy: I never did it in Burlington. All of my friends that I had met, the church that we went to was in Oakville, was down on Lakeshore, down past Brawny. It was called Calvary Baptist Church. It was almost all the way to like third line off of Lakeshore. So my music kind of was there. And when I came back to Burlington, I kind of had lived like two different lives. I was kind of the skateboard, mohawk wearing punk rock guy in Burlington. And then I was kind of the music nerd guy in Oakville, which was kind of cool. Like my friends in Burlington in high school really didn't know that I was a musician at all. All the coffee houses I played and stuff were all in Oakville, like QE Park and Blakelock and all that type of stuff. That's where I did my music. So then as I progressed through high school, I just realized that I sucked at high school, and I was probably not going to be a lawyer. Music was probably going to be my go-to. So then literally my last year, I went and did another tour in Europe. I did my second tour of Europe later, one of my last years of high school. And then when I was on that tour, Kerry, again, same guy, he was on that tour again. And he said, Andrew, you need to start like kicking ass in music. Like, you're really good. You need to start believing you're really good. And you need to go back and like, when you get back to Burlington, you need to set Burlington on fire. Like, you need to start wearing it. Like saying, I'm Andrew Irving, the musician, right? And I'm good. So it's time for you to start paying attention, right? And I'd never really had that thing, right? I kind of left it in Oakville away from my friends. And so this is the moment. You guys want to hear the moment? This is the moment. This is the moment. I'm not going to say the girl's name, okay? I'm not going to say the girl's name, but my last year, okay, of high school, which I think grade 12. I was failing pretty bad in school for a bunch of reasons. Drugs and stuff being a big part of that. But anyways.
Sex, drugs, rock and roll.
Yeah. Being a big part of that. But anyways, had never performed music at my own school. I'd never done it. I had a teacher, a guitar teacher, okay? And I needed one course to graduate. I basically was averaging like 50. Most teachers would give me a 51 because they're like, get the hell out of my class. We don't want you in my... Literally, they wrote that in my report card. More than once, a teacher was like, you probably should have failed because you're just not a great student. But like, I don't want you back next year, so I'm going to go ahead and pass you. And I was like, yeah, fine. It's great. But there was a teacher named Mrs. Fujimoto Howe, guitar teacher. I needed one credit, and I needed to get a good mark. And the only thing I was good at was like basketball and music. That's it, believe it or not, even though I'm a short ass. So I signed up for the intermittent guitar class. Okay. The only problem is the teacher already knew that I was already like heavily into music, right? So day one, I walk into the class, she laughs and she goes, are you going to write the final exam now? And I said, I can. And I could smoke a lot more dope. That'd be great. Can we do that? Or she's like, no, we can't do that. And by the way, your exam is not going to be the same exam as all the other kids. She said, your exam, and for you to pass this class, you have to pick a song that requires technical playing and singing, and you're going to perform it at a thing called Elgin Rocks, which is basically a talent show at my school. And I said, no way. No chance, man. I'm not doing that. It's like, well, then you're going to fail. And I went, but I need the mark, right? Like I really want to get out of high school. So I'm like, fine, I'll do it, right? So I got to phone it in for the whole semester, but I knew, like, trust me, I was counting down those days and I was like, this is probably going to not turn out well. Because I was not, honestly, guys, like at school, I was not known. People had heard that I was kind of a musician, but I had not ever performed in front of even my friends. Not a lot of friends in school, like skateboard friends and stuff. Even so, I remember it was the day before I had to perform, and I finally told my friends out at Smokers. I said, "Hey, dudes, I need your opinion on something." And probably I know what you're gonna say. I go, I gotta perform tomorrow at Elgin Rocks, and they're like, "Are you insane? What are you gonna perform?" I go, "I'm gonna sing and play guitar." You're insane, dude. You're gonna like this is. Because this was semester 1. So I was going to have another whole, after this probably went badly, I was going to have another whole semester for people to bully me after I destroyed myself. But anyways, point is, at that same time, there was a girl that I loved in high school who was a jock girl. And I was a skater dude, right? So you know how high school was. That was untouchable for me, right? I remember my buddy said to me, maybe if you kill it, maybe if you crush it, you have a shot. And I went, I'm doing it. I'm going to crush it. I'm going to crush it. And I still remember my buddy Kevin Harris went, go crush it, bro. Like, I'll be at Smokers. I'm not going to watch because it's probably not going to go well. Like, this is like total like high school movie shit, right? And so I remember the moment, man. I played Tears in Heaven by Eric Clapton, right? I have ADD. I never plan anything. So I kind of learned it like 3 days before. I ran it by a musician that I really respected in Oakville, a really awesome blues player. And I played it for him and I said, how does it sound? And he goes, it's wicked, dude. He goes, it's awesome. He goes, there's a part in the middle where vocally you could just pull the guitar out and just, there's a part where it goes, and I'm on vocal rest right now, so I can't do it, but I know there'll be no more. And then there's a part where it goes, Tears in Heaven. He goes, stop playing guitar and just hit the biggest note you can on that Tears in Heaven and just rock the crowd, see what happens. And I went, I'll see. When I get there, I'll see, right? Sometimes performing is like jumping out of a plane. You don't know, right? It's like you make decisions. So I still remember, like, I remember my friends, except for my friend Kevin. The rest of my friends are like, we're front row. Like, we're front row, dude. Whether this goes bad or good, like, this is going to be killer. Curtain opens. Miss Fujimoto comes out. Now up, right? Andrew Irving. Silence. Silence. No applause, nothing. Whole school had to be there. My whole school. I get up. I start playing Tears in Heaven. It's quiet. It's dead quiet. And I'm doing okay, right? Like, I'm doing okay. I'd performed lots, so it's not like I was scared of performing. I'd already performed a lot. But what was scary was I was like, this is the moment. Like, this is your moment. You got to own it. Like, this is it. You're about to become like the musician, Andrew Irving. And so I remember getting to that moment where my friend, who I really respected, a musician, said, hit the note. Just go for it, dude. If you don't get there, you don't get there, but go for it. And I did. I stopped. Bam! Hit an A. There'll be no more. And I just hit the Tears in Heaven as hard as I could. And then I hit the A to end the song. Just like a high school movie, standing ovation. Whole high school went postal, like jaws dropped. And I cried on stage, dude. I was like, what? Right? Like, recognition for the first time from my peers, like people who don't have to like me, right? People who I was afraid wouldn't like what I do. And
Everybody wants to know, though, did you get the girl?
so here's the thing. So I get done. I leave the stage. go behind to the little area. My buddies are all waiting for me. They're all waiting for me, man. And they all grab me and they're like hugging me. Dude, what? What? You can do that, dude? What the hell? Why did you wait all the way to grade 12, dude? Like, dude, they're like, you could have helped us, man. Could have helped us get the hookup. We're the nerdy skateboard dudes. Which, by the way, later in life, I found out we were the cool guys. I didn't know that at the time. Wish the girls had informed us of that in high school. That we were we thought they were untouchable. We were the untouchable skateboard dudes. But anyways, that's not our story. So, point being, my friend goes, and I'm not going to say her name. If she'll probably will. She's from Burlington. She probably will hear this. But my friend said she was watching. She was smiling. And I went, oh, wow. He goes, do a fly by the locker. Do a fly by the locker right now. She's by her locker. Go do a flyby. Do a flyby now. My friends are like, it's just so high school movie, bro. You can't write. It's pretty and pink. You can't write this shit. Walk by the locker. Do the glance over. Dude, she gave me the glance back. And I went, noted. There was 2 performances. 2. One in the morning, one in the afternoon. People had to go to the morning one, didn't have to go to the afternoon one. I go to do show 2 in the afternoon. I look straight down, straight ahead. She's right there, second row. Didn't have to be there to see the performance again. Killed the note again. Another standing O. We started dating like 3 days after that.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, we did.
There you go.
And it's still legendary. Like with my friends. It was like untouchable for us dudes, right? It was untouchable. And I was like, and then in a way it was funny because it took me out of my shell, right? Like, and then I honestly, I joined the basketball team. I started associating with like the athletes. Like all of a sudden in the school, I kind of, which is crazy that I waited all the way till the end of school. But that last year was remarkable, not only for my music, but for my confidence going forward into my career, right? It really launched me, man, because it let me know that like everyone connects to music, man. Everybody. Jocks, mods, punks.
So let's get into that a little bit. Let's get into like the connection with music because you're a huge advocate for men's mental health, kids' mental health.
Yeah.
People with addiction.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit why and like why the songs that you write come out of you like they do, and what's taking you on that journey to get you to the place where you're at, and why you want to help so many people and spread the word about those things.
Yeah, man. So let me I'll give you a quick synopsis. I leave high school and I have the fortunate opportunity to become a guitar player for a band called Tribal Sun, which was a big band, big punk rock band. We had songs on, songs on the radio. We won 97.7. We won 102. We got to play Edge Fest. We got to open and tour with huge bands, Our Lady Peace, whatever, right? But from, and I'm pretty vocal about this from the first time I was put in the hospital, when I knew that I was going to have a demon that was going to follow me through my life of drugs and alcohol was when I was 8 years old. Okay. So I was 8. My buddy brought a bottle of peach schnapps to my house and he had a sip. And that was good for him. I drank the whole 40 and never was there a minute that I didn't love I still remember the taste. I loved every second, every minute. The more I got effed up, the better. No shut off, no shut off at all until my sister, God bless her, saved me, right? And I had alcohol poisoning and it was pretty dire, right? I was 8 years old. From that moment on, I kind of went, there's going to be a partner that's going to follow me through my career. Probably an unwanted partner. This guy's coming. This dude's coming for the ride too. Okay. So that was in my life. Okay. guys, like in all honesty, and I'm pretty open about it through my whole career. I burned down opportunity after opportunity after opportunity after opportunity that was given to me because of I I couldn't manage my addiction. It just I'd keep it on the rails for, X amount of time in a band, and then all of a sudden, bam, you know. I still remember in Tribal Sun in Montreal, unable to play a show. I started drinking at 10 in the morning. We were on stage at 9. I couldn't even form a chord. They had to go cancel a show. Like, the manager put me up against the wall by my throat, right? And it was a theme that, that I'm honest about, that followed me, like I said. So I lived a great deal of my life thinking that that's what you do. First off, that's what you do. I'm a rock star. That's what you do. This is what we do. This is what everyone thinks you do. This isn't what we do. We don't
Party.
do hard drugs, and every place we go, we bring the party, and you know what I mean? Like, that's what musicians do, right? And that's what I was taught. The falsity I was taught was that was what you do.
That was success.
That was success. And that's how you showed it, right? Every town we went to, we burned it down to the ground. Leave the legacy, leave the name, have your name on. I still remember, I was so proud. I have my name on it on frat houses all over Canada, right? And I thought that's what I do, man. Like, if I don't do that, what do I do, right? Never knowing that the whole time I was putting that addiction in front of pain that I wasn't ready to deal with, So fast forward to what I call my D-Day, which is my deliverance day, when Christian, my son, approached me, which people know this story. I've told this story before, but when Christian approached me in the basement and had just had enough of my shit and called me on it, and I'm proud of him. So he called me on it. He said, "Dad, you either stop drinking or I'm moving out." And my son lived with me full time, okay? And I was like, what?
How old was he at this point?
I think he was, well, I've been sober for coming on 6 years. He's 21, so 21 away from 6. You're the math guy.
15.
Yeah. Still at an age, very impressionable age, man. Like, it's scary. 15, standing up to your dad, giving him an ultimatum at 15. Like, I'm moving out. You're not going to see me again unless you put down the bottle. But then he continued to tell me that he knew the whole time. I was never pulling the wool over his eyes, even when he was like 7, 8, 9. He knew where I hid my drugs and my alcohol. It's remarkable, man. Heartbreaking, right? Like, when he would come back to my house, when he did go to his mom's, and he would come back to my house on a Monday, he would go to where I stashed my booze, because he would want to see what kind of a mood I was going to be in, and he would base it on how many empty 40s there were of alcohol, right? So when he called me on it, and then he exposed that he knew the whole time, there was no rock bottom needed, man. There was no homelessness needed. I was like, this is for real. This is it. It's time to cage this demon once and for all. Like, this asshole's dying today. Whatever that looks like, whatever that takes. And I looked my son in the eye and I said, I'm going to kill it. Your dad's an alcoholic and a drug addict, but I'm going to kill it today. Whatever that looks like, Christian, I'm going to kill it. And so that took work, man. That took a lot of work, okay? And that's how this whole thing started happening, okay? As I started peeling back the layers of why I had these problems, it was painful, man. It was painful. And as I did that, I started to realize I wasn't alone, though. There was a lot of people that struggled with mental health, anxiety, depression, had scars from their past from growing up. I was adopted, man. I was adopted. And I never realized the toll that would take on my life, man. Like, being adopted is a big thing. It's a big thing. People don't think it is, but ask people who are adopted, who I do now, what it's like being born and then getting taken away from your mom, and given to another family. God bless my family who took me, but that doesn't change that from day one I had trauma that was going to be unreconcilable. Okay? But when I started doing the work, I started peeling back those layers and going, wow, man, like there's a lot to unpack for a lot of people. And a lot of people put drugs and alcohol in front of that pain, like just like I was doing, right? And I kind of always wrote music from the heart, okay? But I never really addressed what I would always kind of tap around it. Never really address, because I wasn't going to come out and say, this thing has control of me, because that's not what you do. That's not what you do when you're a rock star. It's like, I got control of this, man. It's all fine. I kind of said, hey, man, like maybe God is telling me that I do have a purpose, and that the purpose is now that I've been dragged out of hell to help other people get out of there if they want help. Okay. Now, my first year, I was on a mission to save everybody, whether they wanted help or not. It's like your new shiny toy. It's like, I'm sober. I'm killing it. This is like, you got to be sober too. And I can help you. And I'm going to help you. I'm going to help the whole world. I'm going to help all of Canada. Then you realize, well, that's not realistic. Okay. People got to want to come out of hell, and they got to reach out first, right? Nobody came, right? My son came, right, to tell me, to waken me up, but nobody came to save me, man. I had to do that work myself, right? So then I said, how is going to be the most tangible way? Well, clearly it's going to be with the gift that was given to me by God to touch other people. So then right away I knew that my calling was, I was going to start writing music and speaking my truth, no matter what the consequence would be. And I remember my addiction counselor, who's still, God bless him, with me to this day, even though I'm a huge pain in the ass, but saved my life. He was like, it's going to come with a price tag, Irving. It's going to come with a price tag if you do that. He goes, crazy. I want you to do it, but just understand it's going to come with a price tag. There's going to be a lot of haters. I remember the first thing he said to me, guys, was when I said, I think I'm going to start writing music that like speaks truth, right? He said, Andrew, do you know who hates you? And I said, no. He goes, you're about to find out. And I went, whoa, dude. He goes, you go out there and start trying to push this narrative forward to help people. You think it's going to be a slick, easy road, dude? He goes, it's not, man. Because I truly believe when you try to do good and you go out there to try to help people, that makes you the person that's going to get attacked. And if you're not ready for both sides of that, So that's how it started, man. It started with me getting sober, and really that was, I had a remarkable thing happen when Wyatt was born. My daughter who just turned 5. By the grace of God, I got sober a year, before she was born. I broke the cycle, right? My daughter will never have to have a dad. That is in that turmoil. But when she was born, as some of you know, there was a very high risk pregnancy, and she was premature, and she had to be resuscitated, right? So she almost didn't make it. And immediately when that happened, and I was sitting in the delivery room, and that happened, people say the doctor saved her. The doctor saved her. And I went, okay, well, I know that makes it easier for you to digest, but like, I think if we all don't think that there was something a little bit bigger in play there. And that was another moment for me where I went, I left the delivery room and I wrote a song called Miracles. Um, and that was the first song I'd ever written where I just literally told the truth. I said, I believe in miracles. God put breath into my daughter's lungs. So thanks for showing me that there's more in life to see. Now believe me, I believe. And I said, I don't give a shit what the consequences are for me taking that to mainstream radio. Let's do it. And that's what started it. That's what started everything, the song Miracles, you know? And it's been a road, man, since then. You know, it's been a crazy, amazing road, right?
Yeah.
But that's what it was, man. When I got sober, I just felt that we have a lot of people hurting right now. First responders and people like yourselves trying to do good. Capillary, you know, like all these people trying to do good. We're under attack, man, because the climate we live in doesn't like that, you know.
For sure.
So yeah, so that was kind of what started it, man. Miracles was the song that started it, and it gave me the confidence to say, all right, now we're gonna go a little deeper in the journal, Irv. It's time to bring out scars. Right?
And recently you've written, like, in the last 2 years, you've put out 2 or 3 other big songs that get pretty deep.
Yeah,
your
man.
whole vibe is like the Jelly Roll vibe. Like I
Yeah.
love Jelly Roll, and like every song he speaks his truth and like what his journey was, and that's what your most recent 2 or 3 songs remind me of.
Yeah, man. I am such a huge Jelly Roll guy. Not even, you know, I was doing it even before, you know, I knew who Jelly Roll was. But, you know, I'm about to walk into my biggest year of my career. And just stay tuned. That's all I'm going to say. Stay tuned with Mr. Roll, because I'll be reaching out to that boy. He's going to pay attention. And yeah, man, I don't know what else to write about anymore, to be honest, when I pick up the pen. I'm at a point in my career where I just don't have time. I'll let other people write about Bud Light and trucks and you know, and that stuff, and that's all great and that's all killer. And we need those songs, by the way. Need those songs. We need the car songs to get us going faster. I'll be the guy that will write the other side of that, you know, and Jelly Roll is very much that guy, you know. He's like, I'm gonna tell my truth and hope that it helps other people.
Where can people find your music right now that you do have out there?
Yeah, so everything is kind of cool. I've streamlined it all under Andrew Irving Music. So really, if you just go under Andrew Irving Music on any major streaming platform or on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or whatever, you can find me there. I do have the Irving Army, which I know. What was that thing that had the intro?
Chat GPT.
It's one of these computer things. So.
I love it.
Yeah.
So I do have the Irving Army as well, which I started right before COVID, because I kind of wanted to. It's just like it said there. I kind of wanted to stay in touch with just my musical community, because when COVID hit, we were all we had no jobs, right? Like my whole calendar, it's like, you're going to be available for the foreseeable future and not be able to play music. So have fun with that. Now, I'm very fortunate that I got sober before COVID, because I can guarantee you I would not have made it out of COVID alive. Just there's no way. And I unfortunately lost a lot of my musical friends during COVID, to be honest with you. And I knew that was going to be a reality, because addiction and drugs and alcohol, man, it's prevalent in my business. You know, it's there to comfort us, because we think differently than most people on the face of the planet and feel things deeper. And we put that pen to paper and it hurts a lot of the time, right? And how do we deal with it? Well, drugs and alcohol is a pretty killer way to numb it, right? And so I knew that was going to be trouble. So I started the Irving Army just for that, and literally just started trying to add my musical friends. And then all of a sudden, a guy named Will Rhodes from Missouri clicked on and said, hey, I got a couple buddies, just want to add them. Is that cool? Yeah. Thousands of people later, all American. 90% of the Irving Army is American. It just went viral. And people were like, this is a place we can come and be supported. And in hindsight, if I had known that any of that was going to happen, I probably wouldn't have called it the Irving Army. I probably wouldn't have put my name right on it, right? Because a lot of people think, like, now I have 5 administrators who run it for me because I don't have the time. There's a 24-hour chat group that's live 24 hours a day, right? And people are in there. There's a whole family that lives in there, and I'm so happy for that. And we're very fortunate. I don't think it's ever me. I don't think it's ever me that does this incredible work. I believe that the creator that I believe in does this, but it saved a lot of people, and I'm glad to have my name on it. But I guess what I'm saying is that's another avenue people can go to find my music and find the message if they need help more tangibly. I don't know how much I'm allowed to talk about Mr. Kozub, about potential things that are going into the future with a little song I wrote called "If I'm Not All Right." Is that okay?
Yeah, you can talk about anything you want for sure.
So, as I'm sure some of the listeners know, there's the Capillary group, and I've reached out to Nelson, and I've been led to believe that it's something that I want to be attached to for the foreseeable future as a tangible place to land people that need help, men that need help. A lot of men are afraid to talk. What does that look like? Does it look like weakness if I talk? Right? What does that look like? And I firmly believe that what you guys have put in place is such a valuable under talked about thing that the Capillary House is going to do. Capillary is going to do incredible things. So I've reached out to Nelson and wanting to start "If I'm Not All Right," which is literally the toughest song I've ever written. I wrote it in the toughest part of my life, which was just recently, man. About 6 months ago, I was going to pack it in with music altogether. I'd had enough, man. It's a tough road being an independent artist. You don't make a lot of money, and I have 3 kids and a mortgage and bills and food and a Canadian independent artist, as you know. There's a reason there's not a lot of us, because it's not a great road to head down. But I don't know what else to do at this point. And when you're called, you're called. And I just believe that my voice is important. So I'm not going to take it out of play. But I was about to. And then I looked in my journal and I had written a line, "If I'm not all right, is that okay?" And written some pretty hard-hitting things. Like, there's voices that creep up inside my head that tell me things you wouldn't believe, but I wish I didn't believe them. Lines like that, right? They're pretty, for people who struggle with anxiety and depression, they know exactly what that line means. And immediately when I saw the, Capillary, I thought, well, this is a marriage that needs to happen, right? And people can get behind songs. People can get behind songs, and it can affect them in a way that they will look for help.
Because that song will turn into a movement. That's the whole goal.
Yeah.
With that and Capillary is turn it into a movement and get other people behind it and recognizing.
Yeah.
That it is okay not to be okay.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And Nelson's such an incredible guy. As are you, and as are you, Chris. Incredible people that take risks that a lot of people won't take, man. To do this crazy thing, right? A lot of people are like, "Why? I'll just be a musician. That's hard enough. Let's just do that. Or let's just be a business guy. That's enough. I'm going to take care of my family. That's enough of a mission as it is." You add another.
Challenge.
Now let's also try to make a difference in a world that is going to push back, right? Wow, what does that look like?
For sure.
But now that I do it, I don't know how to not do it, right? And so I think it's going to be an incredible year, man. An incredible year for mental health, for addiction awareness from my side of things, for Capillary, for the voice in Burlington that it's okay to not be okay. and across the world where our message will go, you know? Um, so yeah, that's all kind of where you can find me, you know?
That's awesome.
And there's some things I can't share that are very exciting, but they'll all be coming to light very soon.
That's great. We'll be watching for sure.
I got to take a moment. Okay. Jamie knows I do this. But, you know, having a career when you're an independent artist, man, you need soldiers, man. You know, it's kind of why I kind of came up with the Irving Army. I was kind of like, if I'm going to go on this crazy adventure of like telling the truth, which the world isn't a big fan of right now, right? Or like confronting things, I'm gonna need some soldiers. And you know, Jamie, I want to give you a shout out, bro, to your face, man. You know, this man over here is absolutely selfless, like to a point where it's almost like, what? It's like, Jamie, I'm gonna ask you for one more thing. Please don't get mad. And you're like, never mad, dude. What do you need? Right? One of the big things that I do need to talk about is hometown heroes, man. I need to talk about it because it's going to be a big thing this year, tied into If I'm Not Alright, Is That Okay? And that absolutely would never have happened without Jamie. Okay. Us independent Canadian artists have zero money ever, right? And to do anything over the top and to dream and to try to push narratives forward, you need selfless humans. And you were that selfless human, Jamie. So thank you.
It's a
Honestly.
pleasure, man.
There's so many things that I could say that Jamie has done for me personally. So many. Needed to go to Bancroft, needed tires. Jamie doesn't like me telling that story, but that's the thing about Jamie, everybody who's watching this thing. He never tells. He never tells what he does, dude. It's insane. He never tells what he does. Everyone wants the picture. Everyone wants to be in the picture, but never do shit to be in the picture. You ever, like, it's just the more that I'm involved in things, everyone wants to be the guy holding the check, right? Or it's like, hey, I'm going to give this homeless guy $5. Roll the cell phone, please.
Take a TikTok.
Roll the cell phone.
It's true.
Hey, roll the cell phone. I'm giving someone $5, man. We just got to go viral. Never. To the point where like he's uncomfortable that I'm like, hey man, do you mind if I give a shout out? And he's all, the answer is always like, well, I guess you could. Like, don't go too crazy about it, right? So I was on TV and I'm like, Jamie, I'm going to give you 2 shout outs. I wrote it in my script, put it on the teleprompter because he just never looks for credit. And tires, Christmases, hometown heroes. Hey, Jamie, I got a crazy idea. I just wrote a song called If I'm Not Alright, Is That Okay? Need a meeting. Yeah, come by. Let's do it. So I want to thank you, bro.
And then we can do to support guys trying to get the good word out there, man. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
100%.
And Chris, like for what you're doing too, bro. You know, just this.
No, happy
And-
to be a small
and-
part, but
and-
I don't want to take away from Kozib and your message there because I get to sit beside this guy, you know, not just on this set, but you know, our offices share a wall. So, I
Yeah.
mean, I see it. I see his calendar. I know the time he puts in. And I think too that, you know, if you're watching this, like Jamie, because of his success in life, he's got the ability to, you know, write a check, but most of what you're talking about is time.
Yeah.
And when I'm, you know, approached by guys who want to do more, want to get involved, time is a commodity. And sometimes just listening, supporting, you know, if it is a dream that you want to talk about or try and put some tangible things beside it, that's something I know we can all do. So, you know, Jamie does it extremely well, but you know, what you're trying to do by getting your craft out there, writing to it, being involved in it, like that I have to commend you on too, because there's a lot of ways to approach mental health. there's a lot. There's some guys that's getting involved in a group, perfect,
Mm-hmm.
great fit for them. It fits them socially. It's comfortable for them. Some people need one-on-one therapy. Some people
Absolutely.
need weights.
Yeah.
Some people need art. And so I think the more we can follow what our calling is, to use your word, I think that is the way that we can all get involved and can all help each other. And then that rolls up to something I know we all believe in, which is you got to have that tribe around you. You got to have that support system, and that doesn't have to be family. It's great when it is family, but it can be family you make. It can be the people that
Hell yeah.
support your sobriety, that
Hell yeah.
support your craft, right? So, yeah, not surprised that Kozib's doing things that even I don't know about behind the scenes, because that's the kind of guy he is.
It's just one of those things, my mentor, and like I said, the guy who's kind of taken over the craziness of what Andrew Irving is, as far as trying to keep me on the rails, which, by the way, God bless that man. He told me not to. Those guys kind of like the addiction counselors, and those guys kind of like to stay a little behind the scenes, so I'm not gonna. But his name is very close to Jamie. Let's just put it that way. But to him, who's probably watching this, love you, man. But he's told me a couple of real valuable pieces of advice, and one of them is be careful who you tell your dreams to. Be careful, because there's people that aren't dreamers, and if you tell dreams to non-dreamers, it's a really quick way to crush a dream. So it's better to not.
It's true, man.
Jamie is a dreamer. Like, I mean, I was listening to the to the podcast that Jamie did, and I was so impressed by the vision, like that. It's not off the table, right? It's not off the table, and it's doable. If your brain can create it, then it can be done, right? And
People need to believe they can change their stars.
and you know what? Absolutely.
100%. I was adopted just like you.
You were?
Yeah, I haven't spoken with my dad in the last 8 to 10 years, but and that's like a story for another time, but it's true. Like when I was young, I was told by my dad's boss, like total abused my dad. He used him like crazy. My dad had the biggest heart and he was the hardest worker, but he was your typical carpenter, construction guy. And when I was like 14, working in the scaffolding yard, just like helping load and unload trucks, the guy was like, "You're going to be the biggest piece of shit, just like your dad, the rest of your life. You're never going to live in $1 million house." He was like, at the time, he was like a 65-year-old German guy that had fought in the war for Germany.
Sure.
Like, he was as Hitler going as it possibly was.
Yeah.
And he was like, "You're never going to be anything. You're going to be a piece of shit, just like your dad." And that's when I told myself, I said, "Fuck, man, for my family, I have to change my stars." And that's a huge thing that I try and instill in other people. Is just you can do it. You can do whatever you want to do. People need the support to get there. So the more we can, support other people and live in their dreams and getting their message out, that's what it's about. It's not about fucking money, and it's not about what we drive or the house we live in. It's about seeing other people succeed around you. And like anybody that has a friends group, if you're the friend that like, I've got to have the bigger house or the bigger boat,
Yeah.
then you're not a fucking friend. I want
Right.
I want to succeed by my friends so that like we can all go take a trip together. We can all, go to somebody's backyard and have a good time. We're all living the same life and succeeding the same way. And if you can't support people around you to do that, then I don't have any time for it. You know what I mean?
And I mean, I've been so fortunate in my life to have people like yourself, who come along and become my brothers and become a part of my family, on Friday behind the drum kit will be my best friend since we were like kids, still playing drums, still behind me, still backing my ass up. No one gets to the front of that stage and touches Andrew when that guy's on the kit behind me. And it's never happened once in my career. And that's his vouch to me. No matter how, in the throes of my addiction, bro, when I was wrong, absolutely wrong. Like lines of people gonna kick my ass after a show. My best friend behind the kit was like, not today. Not today. Always, always had my back and is still, even though we're getting up there, still playing drums, man. And those are the people, dude. Those are the people, that keep, that change your stars. Those are the people that support you. And those are the people and God brings new people into your life that are there to take you to the next place, and they're there to be your brothers to the next place and to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But on the other end of that, like I said, similar to your story growing up, my parents and a lot of people around me are like, get a real job. Music isn't a job. A job, you got to hate your job. That's what you do. You punch a clock, bill comes in, bill lets you have a coffee, and then you punch your time clock, and then you hate it, and you suffer, and then you get to go home. And then guess what? You get a couple hours to yourself. And then you do that again. And I went, wow, that sounds horrific. I don't want to, whatever that is, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Right. But some people can't. It's just like I said, like living in your purpose and understanding that you will be provided for if you live in your purpose and taking that risk. Some people are never gonna get that. And I feel sorry for that, but it's like I said, you got to be very careful when you're changing your stars, who you're changing your stars with and who you're surrounded by when you're changing your stars, how much information you give out and how big you tell the dream, right? Sometimes you got to minimalize. Sometimes you got to minimalize the dream to the crowd.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is just about playing Wheat Kings, and that's okay.
Yeah.
People are allowed to like my version of Wheat Kings, right? And I'm blessed that people do. But that's not where this story ends for Andrew Irving.
So, if you were to look into the future and your journey comes to an end, your life passes on and you're on to greater pastures, what would you look back and want each of your kids to think about or say about their dad? What would I know that's going to be a very different answer for the younger two versus your oldest because he's seen the struggles and stuff, but what would
I don't think it would be a different answer, to be honest. I would want them to know that their dad led with what my grandma taught me. It's on my hand. Grace upon grace. My grandma taught me that. People are shitty. You're going to need to walk around with a lot of grace. And then when they strike again, you're going to want to punch back, man. But that's when you got to give a little bit more grace. Now, that doesn't mean that you get trampled on, because in my song Stronger, I very much talk about how, thank you for your doubts. It makes me a better man. I will pave my way to success on the backs of your doubt. But also, there's something called grace, right? And I want my kids to know that they can be anything they want if they lead with love and they lead with grace and honesty. And you try your best to stick to those things. And I would want them to look at their dad and say, my dad did that. Yeah, was he perfect? Not even close, man. Not even close. When I got sober and I had to do a thing called reconciliation, which is a very fun thing when you're an addict. I was like, the list is too long, dude. Like, I don't know if I have that much time, right?
You had to put a tent up outside the church.
I was like, everybody, there will now be a new festival. It's called Andrew's Reconciliation Festival. If 1,000 of you would like to come out, we have room for you. I will line you up and I will. And so far from perfect. And I get reminded of that a lot. When you're a figure who goes out into the public and tries to speak truth, other people go, I know a truth about you. And I go, and I have to be willing to hear it. And I have to be willing to fall on my sword and say, yep.
Yeah, you own it though. You own it.
Yeah. I go, yep, that was. I don't know that guy anymore that you're talking about, but Yeah, it's cool. I get it. But I would want my kids to see that through your darkest times, there's light. Through hell, you can find heaven. Through hard ass work and commitment, you can change your stars. You can be what, and I wouldn't want all my kids, my little daughter, Wyatt, she, I'm like, it's funny, like just one quick, like 2-second story about being a kid. And my grandma, like I said, when I was very young, she used to tell me I was the best musician. You're the best on the face of the earth. I go, the best? Yep. I'm the best. Yep. Like in the world? Yep. And I was like, well, she doesn't lie. She's telling me the truth. So I literally, I've told a lot of my friends this story for like at least 2 years. Okay. I'm the best. I was horrific, but I wrote one song. Okay. And I had a guy record it. Okay. And then I got to meet with a guy named Daniel Lanois, who produced a little record called The Joshua Tree. Okay. By U2. And so I had a meeting because I was the best, and I wrote the best song in the world. And so I got to go to Grand Avenue Studios and present my song. And before I left, my grandma said, again, you're the best. And I go, okay, yeah, I believe you. Went in, presented my song. Quickly, he let me know I wasn't the best. In fact, I was horseshit. I think his words were, is that the song? And I went, yeah. And he goes, yeah, it's not even close to being good. It's terrible. And I went, what? It's the best.
My grandma said
He
so.
goes, no, it's horrific. You have
No fucking talent.
no talent. And I went, no. I'm the best because my grandma doesn't lie. So I think you might need to hear the song again, or no, you can leave. And I went, okay. Like bawling, went back to my grandma. And I go, Grandma, I'm not the best. She goes, no, you are. I go, no. This guy who like is a pretty big deal, he says I'm not the best. He doesn't know anything, Andrew. He doesn't know. You are the best. And that's what I would want my kids to have, that delusional thought that go get this world, go get it. Just go get it. Take it. It's yours. Nothing you can't do. You can change your stars. You're the best.
Yeah.
And believe it. Right? And if you even have 90% of that confidence, holy crap, the world better
Look out.
That's right. And that's what I would want them to say about their dad. It's like, yeah, do I need to sell out the Air Canada Centre? No. Do I believe I can? Hell yeah, I do. Yeah. Will I? If that's the path. If it's not, then I want my kids to go, but my dad did everything he could to reach as many people with a message that he thought was important. And therefore, whatever I choose to do, I can do the same.
That's huge, man.
Yeah.
Big thoughts for sure.
Yeah, man.
One thing I want to just touch on. First off, I got a few fun questions too.
Let's do that.
So we have just a few things that we like to ask our guests. So the first one, which you kind of touched on, and I love the positioning of have that confidence, and
Sure.
hopefully you're lucky enough to have that person that instills that confidence.
Mm-hmm.
If you were going to give your most fatherly advice, the one thing you'd want people listening and knowing we've got a pretty broad audience,
Mm-hmm.
what would you want to tell them is your number one best life advice?
You know what? It really ties into that heartbreaking moment that we had. And it's something that rings every day that I wake up. You don't have a contract on how much time you get. So go get it. Like, go get it. Right? Don't wait. Don't wait till tomorrow. right? You want to sell at the Air Canada Center? Let's do it today.
Yeah.
Or let's get on the bus that's heading that way. You know, that would be my biggest in life, my biggest message. And it ties into everything, right? It ties into, you know, people go, how'd you get sober? It's like, stop drinking.
Make no excuses.
Yeah.
I stopped snorting cocaine. That's it.
Yeah.
Because I might not have had another day. So it was today. Today's the day. There's not a better day than today because tomorrow's not promised. So yeah, I think that's such a valuable, huge piece of advice just in general, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for me too, the more gray hairs I get,
Yeah,
the
man.
more I'm like, yeah, that's a real thing.
Well, I was just telling you boys, you know, just minutes before we did the podcast about how I had to go on vocal rest for the first time, right? And that was another like little shot in the ribs, like, hey, Andrew, like, you're not 21 anymore. So like, let's get at it.
Yeah.
Let's get at it.
We're next question is we're car guys, so we like this question. So
Okay.
it's and just go off the cuff, but the
Sure.
rules of this are simple. We call it Dream Car Garage.
Okay.
Okay, so you've got all the money in the world. You can own 3 vehicles:
Mm-hmm.
a daily driver,
Mm-hmm.
a winter beater,
Mm-hmm.
and something that's just an all-out flex. What are the 3 cars you're buying? The daily, the winter beater, the flex.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I'm not a huge car guy. I got to tell you, I've never been a huge car guy, but I'm always a car rock and roll guy. So it's going to be a pretty cliche answer, but the day-to-day drive would be the biggest jacked out tour bus of all time. The most gaudy looking. When I roll into Burlington, like a picture of me on the side going, what? As I'm driving down Branch Street, they're
Big
like,
Irvin or
right? Yeah. Like just ridiculous. Like I'm talking, like when the sides go out, like I need a mall. Like it's like,
Fuck, I don't know what the flex is going to be if that's the daily
Yeah.
driver.
right? Because the daily drive, I feel like,
Live your life to the fullest
yeah,
every
man.
day.
Yeah, man.
We're going,
Yeah, man.
we're going
Yeah,
on
man.
tour right fucking
Yeah.
now.
Everywhere I go is a tour stop.
Which way to the ACC?
And then winter beater
It's
is
like,
same
hey,
answer,
man.
but winter tires
Yeah.
on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some chains on the back.
So that's daily because I feel that's a cool daily. What was the other one? Winter?
So go winter beater.
Winter beater. Man, you know what? I'm going to go with a really crappy car because I have such fond memories of my worst car. It actually blew up on Highway 6 coming home from a show at 4 a.m. It was a Volkswagen Jetta. One door didn't close properly. Okay. Heat didn't work at all. Guitars barely fit. Like I could not see when I had my Marshall stack in the back. Drove the hell out of it. If I could have that car back to remind me, I would in a heartbeat, dude. A cop pulled me over one time because I turned a corner. The door opened with the bungee cord. And he didn't even pull me over to get mad. He was like, sir, did I just see you turn a corner and a bungee cord bring your door back to you? I went, yes, yeah, he did. He looked in the back and saw the guitars and he went, yeah, it all checks out. Have a good day. Could you tighten the bungee cord a bit? I went, yes, sir. All right, no problem. So 100%. The
He's
winter
like,
beater's
just
got to
another
be.
struggling musician.
Yeah,
He's
it's
fine.
got to be a winter beater, dude. It's got to remind you. Right?
With no heat.
Yeah.
Love the practicality.
Yeah.
And then
Until it blew up.
Yeah.
And then
Engine literally, and like I said, I'm not a car guy, but open the engine, green stuff spitting out. I go, probably that's not good. I don't know.
Just a guess.
I'm going to be on Highway 6 for a while because it's 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And then flex. You want to go with something
Okay,
else, or you
yeah.
going back with the tour bus?
No. So the flex is always the picture of Johnny Cash in front of his black Lincoln.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm.
I can't think of a bigger. So I play a black, people who see me live, I play a black custom Johnny Cash guitar. But in the promotion for that guitar, there's a picture of Johnny Cash with the guitar and behind him is a blacked out black old school Lincoln, and it's just the most beautiful, huge boat that you could ever imagine. But you look at that and you go, yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That's like as badass as it gets. The man in black getting into a black Cadillac, you're like, yep, rock and roll.
Made it.
Rock and roll. So if I could have anything, I would never be able to park it in a million. I couldn't even, like the tour bus, I'm paying one of you guys to drive me. and also the Cadillac, because I would crash it immediately. But that would be it. Like it would just be a giant, blacked out, massive tank, rock and roll.
That's tight.
Yeah. Rock and roll.
Last one. Well, I should say before I get to this, did we cover? Is there anything else we want to say? We got Miles is going to put all your socials up when we post this.
Yeah.
Anything else we want to cover? Because I've got one last question in closing.
No, I mean, it's like I said, I'm super glad you guys had me on, and I'm really happy you asked me, because I knew there was going to be some. I knew that we were going to get into some mud, right? And I'm not one that avoids that, and I'm glad that you guys aren't ones that avoid that, because it's very easy to keep everything with rose-petal glasses. And unfortunately, this world we live in, it's tough to walk around with those all the time and not peel them off every now and then and see some realities. So I feel super blessed you guys asked me to do this, and I'm honored that I got to. And this is going to be the year. There's a lot of things that are on the table that are going to not only help me and my family, but are going to help the broader community and men's mental health and do good, right? And I would just say to stay tuned, man. You know what I mean? Like, stay tuned, because this is just the beginning, man. You know what I mean? There's a lot to be done. This is just the beginning. This podcast.
Keep doing big things, man. Keep getting that message.
Just the beginning, man. Yeah. This is just the beginning.
Behind you 100%, man.
Yeah, man.
So last question. We always ask our guests to bring a dad joke with them. Have you got a dad joke you want to share?
So I asked my two little daughters, right? One's 5, one's 9. Okay. I did tell them Daddy's going on a podcast, and I did a little bit of research. So I did know, okay, I'm going to let the cat out of the bag here. I did know that there was a chance I was going to get asked for this question.
Cat's out of the bag, Cozy.
So I went to the source to get the hard-hitting jokes. So I have 2. Okay.
Ooh.
One from each daughter. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Wyatt's, because she's youngest first. Okay. What did the snail on the turtle's back say?
What did the snail on the turtle's back say?
Yeah. Wee!
Okay.
That's Wyatt's. Thinks it's the best joke of all time.
Yeah. Shout out Wyatt.
Yeah. I don't know if stand-up's going to be your thing, but anyways. And then this is Gabby's. Okay. Now I gotta think of delivery. I gotta lock it in my brain. I got ADD, so I gotta focus on this, or else she'll be very mad if I don't deliver this properly. What's Forrest Gump's bank code?
What's Forrest Gump's bank code? I can't even think of a funny response.
1, Forrest, 1. It doesn't get any worse than that, man. Hey, I didn't say they were going to be good.
No.
Andrew Irving out.
Yeah. That's it.
Bang, energy drink drop.
That's it. Well, man, thank you again. We'll let's keep in touch. We'll make sure Miles plugs everything, and good luck.
Thanks,
man,
Miles.
and congrats on all your success.
Miles, the man behind the scene.
He's the man.
Look at this guy.
He's the man.
Look at that beautiful human.
He is. All right, man. Appreciate
Thanks so
you.
much, brother.
Thanks, boys.
All right.
Appreciate it, man. Right on. Much love.